This three-bean casserole is dumb.
Scooby-Doo-bop, bop, bop. I'm so sorry, babe. I hadn't tasted him yet.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Looking forward to, you know. Like,
don't talk about the ingredients. I know. Yeah.
After, it's just a surprise for your mouth.
yeah.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. I'm sure most of you have heard by now there have been some leaks from John Campea, who used to be with the AMC like movie crew and then Collider. I used to watch Collider a lot. He's one of the reasons I stopped watching. But apparently he has leaked 2 images from Spider-Man No Way Home, the upcoming Spider-Man film that's going to be introducing the idea of the multiverse really fully into the MCU as far as films, obviously leading into that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I am skeptical that this was an accidental leak, and I'll tell you why here in a few minutes. But we've also got some information about Miles Morales Spider-Man. They just recently did a reprint, and it whooped the regular Miles Morales Spider-Man series. But when it came out, it actually sold 20,000 more copies. And it wasn't just a normal month. Like that issue that it was going head-to-head with of the current series was actually a milestone issue. And that one had already sold 30,000 more copies than normal. So on a normal month, it more than doubled the distribution of Miles Morales Spider-Man. What does that mean as far as Marvel Comics understanding of the character, and why isn't the character selling more if they're selling that many reprints of the first appearance of the character? Now let's get into the big story. These leaked images, they are 2 leaked images. They got the John Campea Show watermark on them. And I imagine some people are like, oh my goodness, John Campea is going to get his pee-pee smacked. He's going to be in trouble. He accidentally leaked this information. Now I am going to show the images and I'm going to talk about them. So if you don't want spoilers, I will let you know when that's coming up. Where I'm going to talk about this John Campea. The reason that I'm pretty cynical about that this was like an accident. And then I will say, yeah, there's going to be spoilers, and then I'll bring it up. John Campea is a true blue Hollywood shill. I find it very difficult to believe that he would accidentally leak these images and jeopardize his ability to have access to Disney and other studios within Hollywood. He wouldn't be able to be a part of Hollywood. He would be part of the movie industry if he lost his shill access by leaking this on without permission. We do know that the MCU has had 3 of their more tepid debuts in a row. Obviously, the pandemic has something to do with it, but the Eternals, which we've all been talking about this week, is the first certified rotten film, according to the Rotten Tomatoes aggregate. Has the worst cinema score of any film outside of Thor. It's every other one of them has been an A. This one was a B. And there's generally speaking negative publicity and rhetoric going around about Eternals. Now would be the perfect time to leak these images and confirming some of the rumors of characters that would be returning for Spider-Man No Way Home. And thus, essentially it will get people to stop talking about Eternals and whether or not it's good and start talking about how excited they are about this damn Spider-Man movie, which we already knew that we were going to see Electro, Jamie Foxx from the Spectacular Spider-Man sequel film, as well as Alfred Molina's Doc Ock from the sequel to Spider-Man. Why they're bringing back Electro, I have no idea. That movie sucked, and he was a big part of it. That character wasn't very good, and Jamie Foxx's portrayal was not very great. But the Doc Ock, bringing Doc Ock back makes a lot of sense because of all the villains in the films of Spider-Man so far, I think that one's been the best one. There's been in a lot of Spider-Man movies. So let's get into these spoilers. Let's look at these images. If you do not want to see the spoilers, if you do not want to have the confirmation of the rumors that have been swirling around that we actually know are true now, you're going to want to stop. Or if you do want to see the bit about Miles Morales, I have time-stamped these chapters within the video. You can skip right ahead to that, and you will miss all this spoiler information. I do not want to spoil this film for you or some of the major surprises that they have not already confirmed and perhaps will not confirm before it comes out in theaters. So if you don't want to see the spoilers, now is the time to skip ahead or leave the video. Now let's get into these images and talk about these spoilers. Here is the first leak image, and as you can see, there is the watermark that John Campea show, and the big rumor that we would have Tobey Maguire's original Spider-Man, at least from the film, and then Andrew Garfield's Spectacular Spider-Man joining Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man. Apparently are confirmed. Looks like they are on some type of dock near the water. I don't know if they're in New York, probably the Hudson, something like that. Perhaps they're on a ship. Maybe they're on some type of barge or something like that. But the three appear to be together and working together. Kind of makes sense. Obviously, Doc Ock is from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man universe. That was his main villain in Spider-Man 2. And Electro, the Jamie Foxx villain from Spectacular Spider-Man 2, is also here. It would make sense as if they crossed to the breach of the multiverses, that their Spider-Man would also, or their Spider-Men would, come with them and perhaps hunt them down and join forces with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I do feel bad for Tom Holland here because you can see, I don't think he has the worst Spider-Man uniform of all times, but it sucks in comparison to those two. Just look at that big ass spider logo right on the chest of Tobey Maguire. It just looks so much better. And you got like little Tom Holland's like tiny bitty miniature Spider-Man logo. Which doesn't look nearly as cool. I think this is very exciting. As a fan of the original first two Spider-Man movies, Spectacular Spider-Man, the first one was okay. The second one was trash. I can get with it. I think it's exciting to bring the three together. You get like the Spider-Verse feel to it. And that certainly has been a winning formula in the past. I do think this will get people's minds off of the Eternals, at least momentarily, and on to Spider-Man No Way Home. So I think this is cool. I think this is a good confirmation. And like I said, I am almost 100% certain that John Campea leaked this on purpose in order to distract from all the negative publicity the MCU was receiving from Eternals. And it's not exactly like Shang-Chi and Black Widow had everybody fawning over them and being super excited about it. Now let's get to the second leaked image, which this one's certainly more exciting because you have the three Spider-Men that we've had in the movies. But this one is definitely pretty dope because we have Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, apparently sitting down with Tom Holland's Spider-Man Peter Parker, Aunt May, obviously Marissa Tomei, and Happy Hogan, played by Jon Favreau, giving some legal advice. We do know from the trailer, the teaser trailer that we got, that Peter Parker is going to be interrogated. He's going to be investigated, and he is definitely under the scrutiny of the police. It would make sense that he would bring in a high-powered New York attorney, perhaps not high-powered, an affordable New York attorney such as Matt Murdock to come onto the case. And this, I think, is a fantastic way to integrate the character into the universe. I don't think this Matt Murdock will be going through the multiversal breach. I hope that he is just a part of the MCU, and he was always in New York doing his Daredevil thing while Spider-Man was doing his thing. I think Charlie Cox's portrayal of Daredevil in Netflix was fantastic. The first two seasons are the gold standard as far as comic book adaptations for streaming, in my opinion. Certainly of the big two. And really even on television, I don't think there's been a lot of the TV shows that have really even topped the quality or touched the quality of those first two seasons. They're absolutely fantastic. Charlie Cox is a very big reason why. He had the everyman feel, the likability that you need with a Matt Murdock, but also when he was Daredevil, I did feel like he had the physical nature about him, enough physicality to really make sense for the character, with the speed, the agility, martial arts background, and everything. So I think this is absolutely fantastic, very exciting, and I hope from now on, Daredevil is a part of the MCU, specifically this version. And is not just a cock tease to say, hey, look, we could have brought Charlie Cox's Daredevil from Netflix in here, but we're just going to show him and then we're going to let him go back. Hopefully this is a permanent fixture, at least for the next few years, as they move into whatever the next version of the Avengers are going to be. Don't know about the rest of the other characters and actors that are associated with the Defenders. It's felt like a lot of people like the Jessica Jones stuff. Iron Fist, not so much. Luke Cage, yeah, a little bit. I think Defenders itself was kind of a bust. Not a lot of people like that, but I think this is exciting and definitely gets you more excited for the MCU moving forward now that we finally have some of these rumors confirmed. So what do you guys think? After seeing those images, are you more excited for this upcoming Spider-Man and the upcoming Doctor Strange films? They're obviously dealing with the multiverse and really incorporating this idea within the MCU, the film universe, and is likely going to be the way that they integrate the Fantastic Four and the X-Men into the universe. I think it's a good start. It certainly it whets the appetite, and I think this is just a teaser, a little taster, an appetizer, as you will, to kind of introduce people to the idea of the multiverse, kind of some of the rules of how it works. You're going to see some things come back through the breach, and then when we get into Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, when we'll start seeing some of the new ideas that are going to be introduced, rather than seeing older versions of Spider-Man, older villains that we've seen in other Spider-Man universes kind of coming through. I think it's exciting. What other characters would you like to see from the past Marvel associated movies that we haven't seen in the MCU? I want to see Wesley Snipes' Blade in there. I know we got a new version of Blade coming up. I want to see him. I wouldn't mind seeing Kirsten Dunst's MJ. I thought that she did a pretty good job. I don't know. Is there anybody else? I know who I don't want to see. I don't want to see that weird version of Venom with the guy from that 70s show, Topher Grace. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see Sandman. Definitely want to see Bruce Campbell. I hope he gets a cameo in the Spider-Man as well as Doctor Strange. We know he'll be in Doctor Strange because he that's directed by Sam Raimi, and he's always does cameos there. So those are the leaks from John Campea. Leaks. I'm pretty sure it was done in coordination with Kevin Feige in the MCU to get the spotlight off the Eternals and onto something more exciting moving forward. So that is that. Let's get into the comic book news. For those of you who are unaware, they did a reprint in September of the Ultimate Comic Fallout, which was the introduction of Miles Morales as Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe. And it wasn't like $1 reprint or anything. This was a $4 reprint, so it cost as much as any other comic book. And it was the number 8 selling by unit as far as what Diamond was reporting in September of 2021, 92,000 copies. Now that is a very, very healthy sales number for a reprinted comic book. And you would say, but Wes, there is a Miles Morales Spider-Man series from Saladin Ahmed that is actually ongoing. Certainly, people would have been more interested in that than a reprint of a comic book they've already read. You would be incorrect. And the worst part about it is that also in that September was Miles Morales Spider-Man number 30, which was the 10th anniversary special of the character. So not only did you have Saladin Ahmed, but you had Lord and Miller also doing a backup story, and there was somebody else. I think it was Cody Ziegler, somebody that wouldn't sell a comic book. But you did have Lord and Miller, who was certainly well known and loved within the geek community. And that would obviously sold better than normal. Like a normal Miles Morales Spider-Man comic sells about 35 to 40,000 issues on a normal week. This one did like 72,000 because it was a milestone issue. You had some special stuff in there, and they were celebrating the character. I think they were doing something with like a new costume or whatever. And the reprint still kicked its ass by 20,000 issues. I remember about 3, maybe it was 4 years ago at San Diego Comic-Con, we had Dan Didio taking question and was lamenting the fact that at DC Comics, they were doing a lot of reprints. And their reprints, their facsimile editions were beautiful. They were perfect. They were way better than Marvel's. Like these... If you got your hands on those DC facsimiles, which I haven't seen them doing lately, those things were super duper high quality, and I bought every single one of them because they were so good. But he was upset that their facsimile editions were outselling this. Like they had the same character, they were outselling the new stuff with the character, and he was having trouble figuring it out. And I think a lot of fans, a lot of retailers were saying it's slapping you right in the face. Because the quality involved in the new comic books isn't quite there. We know that the quality involved in the old stuff, I would rather go buy it again for more than I bought it for the first time, you know, knowing that it will probably never be collectible, never really end up being worth a lot of money. But I want the feeling. I want to be able to hold a great comic book in my hand and read it again, even if I already owned it at one time. The fact that you have reprints outselling the new material is a problem. It was a problem for DC then, and it's a problem for Marvel Comics now. And Miles Morales technically should be, as far as, you know, when you look at their younger, more diverse like array of characters that have really stuck, he's the flagship of all the champions type of characters, your Miss Marvel, Nova, you know, Amadeus Cho, all those crappy characters that are in there that you know, haven't quite got over Riri Williams and whatnot. Miles Morales is the good one that people really have connected with and have a strong bond with. And on a normal month, this facsimile outsold it by 50,000. Now, I imagine the fact that it was the 10th anniversary of Miles Morales' first appearance within Marvel Comics elevated and helped get it to that 92,000, but it still outpaced the ongoing series. What are Marvel and DC doing wrong to where people are willing to spend the exact same amount of money on a comic book where they know everything's already happened? For art that has already been, you know, created 10 years ago, you know, in DC's case, it might have been 30, 40 years ago. It's because they know the quality is there. You look at a lot of the creators that they're putting on these characters. Saladin Ahmed is not the worst writer at Marvel Comics, but he's not at a level where he should be writing a character as important as Miles Morales. If you feel like he is important, like he should be writing some real D-listers, not somebody that's an upper C, you know, verging on a B-list kind of character. You know, Miles Morales with Sony's Into the Spider-Verse made a lot of money. There's a lot of money to be made off of Miles Morales if the character is actually handled correctly. There are enough people that are aware of who Miles Morales is. There are enough people that are interested in the character. He's led his own big, you know, video game, and it was very, very successful. Led, you know, kind of on the back of Miles Morales himself, but they can't figure it out in the comic books. There is such a divide between the comic publishers and their actual fans, their customers. They don't know what their customers want. I think it was Tom Brevoort that once famously said, "Our customers don't know what they want. It's our job to show them what they want." You have no idea. You guys are so lost in the woods, you can't see the forest through the trees. You have no idea. It's the blind leading the blind at this time. The sooner that Marvel and DC can look at themselves in the mirror and say, listen, we just had a facsimile edition, $4 reprint of a comic that everyone knows, you know, happened 10 years ago. Everyone knows what happened. They've already seen the art. And it outsold our 10th anniversary milestone edition of this comic book with two well-known, well-respected, geeky kind of creators in Lord and Miller who've done wonderful things on the big screen. We put them on there to buttress the title and give it some more cachet, and it still whooped its ass by 20,000 issues. What are we missing? What is it that we did 10 years ago that was right that isn't working today? And that's one of the things that's really missing from comic books. There's no self-reflection. There's no understanding of what their place is in all of this and how they've kind of failed their customers, they failed their characters, and why they're failing at this point. And it's very frustrating as a YouTuber who really does love these characters, love these universes. There's nothing I want more than DC, Marvel, Image, and all these publishers to do great. I want them to meet manga head on and go and kick their ass. Not because I hate manga, but because I love these universes. I really do love these characters. But there's, you can't fix something until you're willing to admit that there is a problem. You can't understand your shortfallings until you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, you know what? I've done this wrong, or I've done that wrong, and really take an honest assessment of yourself and your performance. And we're not getting that. So we'll continue to see these things where you have, you know, a 10-year-old comic kicking the shit out of a milestone comic at Marvel on a character that's supposed to be important. It's already happened at DC. It flummoxed Dan Didio. He never figured it out before he was fired. And, you know, CB Cebulski is having the same issue. I imagine in the end, the fix is going to be, we'll just not do facsimile editions and stop embarrassing ourselves. Instead of coming to the conclusion that, hey, if we want Miles Morales Spider-Man to be an important product, we need to treat the character important. We need to put the best creators that we can on there and really let people know that we're behind Miles Morales and that you can invest in this series because we're in it for the long haul. And we think the character is important. And there's just, you don't get that feeling now. You don't get that feeling about very many characters whatsoever at DC or Marvel. And until they figure this stuff out, you know, they're going to continue producing comic books for people other than their actual customers, which does not make sense. So that's the big you know, Miles Morales news. The facsimile edition absolutely beat the shit out of their milestone comic. As far as the leaked images go, I don't want to talk about it now because you might have skipped forward and got to there, but we did get the leak images that certainly confirm some rumors that were out there. I do believe John Campea was likely in cahoots with the MCU, as there's been some negative news out there about the MCU, specifically with the Eternals. This was to be a good way to get people to stop talking about that and start talking about Spider-Man Far From Home, which looks to be absolutely bonkers and leading right into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which hopefully will get people re-enthused for the MCU moving forward. Thank you very much. That is all I got today. And, well, I'll see you around soon.